Hello, and thank you for joining our Stream of Conscious ADHD podcast. I'm Heidi Fawcett, along with my sister Heather. We are Gen X in menopause and, surprise, newly diagnosed with ADHD. Since we found out about our ADHD during the pandemic, we have spent most weekends sitting in my backyard in Brooklyn with our champagne brunch discussing the impact, the reflections, the grief, the stories. Many adults are now finding they were never diagnosed, so we thought we would bring everyone into our backyard discovery sessions, hoping it will help. We laugh, we cry, we are stream of consciousness conversationalists. We hope you enjoy listening to our discovery and perhaps glean some comfort from it. Here we go, into the backyard. So once again, in this episode, we are breaking from our backyard brunch format and continuing with our series of interviews. Last episode, I started an interview with my best friend, Rachel, and we talked so much, it is now a continuation episode of our interview. It may go into yet another episode, so hold on to your socks. And here is part 2 of my interview with my best friend, Rachel.
Okay. So are there menu items that get in your way?
Well, the ability to focus on something, like starting things and not finishing them, is a big one. I definitely just be selective about what I dip into now. Not always perfect with that, but like starting things and having 100% energy, and then the dopamine part of that starts to crash. And so my brain starts to lose interest in the not so fun part of the task.
Right.
A lot of my stuff, and I guess it's more of a comorbidity than it is a ADHD symptom, but is the OCD stuff that comes with it. And I think it's actually more of a response to try to quiet the ADHD brain.
The OCD?
Yeah. And I don't really know. I'm quite resistant to the OCD treatment that I'm offered. Listen to this for a challenge. So the OCD brain is supposed to do exercises in the OCD workbook that the psychiatrist gave me 10 years ago that the ADHD brain lost the copy of. So the OCD brain reordered the book to do the OCD work, and the ADHD brain has since misplaced the book again.
Oh, my goodness.
So here's what we're up against. We've got two things that are trying hard to compete against each other.
Yes. No, I understand that. And actually, I was sharing a few months ago about how my hygiene resistance, if you will, just that because it's boring, it takes up too much time. It's borderline like there's something called Boreture, boredom torture. Some ADHDers literally feel physical pain when they are bored.
Oh my God.
Physical pain. So when you were talking about being at a desk job, it would be, and I was thinking Boreture to you. Oh, it's a thing. Physical pain. That
Wow.
just like blows
Boreture.
my mind. Yeah. But that's what really doing anything, taking a shower is to me. Having to force myself to brush my teeth or do whatever. And then I have a child who has that same menu item. And for me to have to be a role model for what she should be doing. And so these hygiene, self-care, health-based items is a struggle, a daily struggle for both of us. And I still know that I am not where I want to be with helping her, but it's like a double whammy. I'm working against 2 ADHD.
Oh my God. But you're doing the best you can.
I think I'm not doing too bad of a job.
That menu item has never been an issue for me, but one of the things with the OCD that is really a kicker is I wish I had the type of OCD where it was like obsessive cleaning of the house. I shouldn't wish for it, but that is not my world. My ADHD brain definitely takes over, and I'm not a neat and organized person. I definitely function better when I'm in order. Like I see that when I travel, if I'm in a hotel, like I always feel like it's easier for me to work. But there's also a lot of distractions in my house.
Well,
Like
right.
2 cats and a dog,
Yes. And
and an
a
awesome
wife.
wife, and
Yes.
living on the East Coast outside of New York City. There's a lot of things that could also be considered external distractions. But the OCD things for me are like wacky. It's not like the switch the light on 10 times. It's like,
Yeah.
I have to move my toes in my shoes 30 times. And sometimes it will cause me physical pain.
I thought you didn't. So
It's
I
like
do
a
it
compulsion.
when I'm going to sleep. I have to
Mm.
move my feet when I'm going to sleep.
During the first like early days of my marriage, like, or when we got together, Jen named me Michael Flatterly, the Lord of the Dance. Yeah, because it was like Riverdance. She was like, "What is happening with your legs?"
Oh my God.
But yeah, like things like
Do
that.
you have restless leg syndrome?
I've never been diagnosed as having that, but for me, it's not just my legs.
Okay. Well, there's a huge difference to me between needing to move my feet and when you would know if you had restless leg syndrome.
No,
It's like shock to your
no, this is like this is compulsion.
Yeah.
And it's so ridiculous because I remember being in therapy and I remember the psychiatrist saying to me, okay, explain it to me. Like if I could have my hand on my leg and I could say, whatever you do, don't move your hand. But my brain will be like, move your hand, move your
Yes.
hand,
Yeah.
move your hand,
Yeah.
do it, do it, do it.
That's why we have trouble in the MRI or when you're in the CAT scan and they're like, don't open your eyes. Don't. Yeah. Okay.
But I remember the
I think it's
therapist
good.
saying to me, talk me through what would happen if you don't take the action of moving your hand when your brain's telling you, do it, do it, do it. I was like, well, I'm ashamed to say this out loud, but my brain's like, if you don't do this, everybody you love is going to die.
Oh my God.
And I said it and I was like, oh my God, that's insane. And he was like, well, no, but you see how ridiculous the narrative is that your brain is telling you. Don't allow it to do that because you
Right.
know on an intellectual level that that's absolute garbage. And how could you think that you have that kind of power?
Yeah. Well, I do know, and especially when I was younger, if I had negative thoughts, I thought I made things happen because I was like, oh my God, I thought that. And then somewhere along the way, I think it was when I found that correct balance of medication, even before I knew I had ADHD, it was all about the depression and anxiety. When I got on that right combination, I stopped having negative thought. I stopped having that black cloud over my head. And so I'm glad because I was really miserable with all these doomsday thoughts running around in my head. But I guess Chicken Little.
Chicken Little.
But my OCD thing, and the one that stands out to me the most is when I'm adjusting the volume on the TV, it has to be an even number. And I now force myself to leave it on an odd number because I'm trying to. Yes.
Isn't it crazy the games of brain? Like,
If it were just for good instead of evil.
and I feel like my especially with OCD, it's like a new menu every season. It's like, all right, well, we're not going to do the leg thing, but how about this weird thing with paper? And you're going to have to make sure that if you put a paper down on the desk, it has to be symmetrical to the corners of the desk. Okay, how's that?
I'm like, God damn it. If a trade-off.
I know that's not really an ADHD specific thing, but it's
Right. But again, whether maybe the OCD was caused by dealing with ADHD stuff or because I remember when I met you, well, no, not when I met you, right before you moved to New Jersey, you seemed to be a little more tidy than when you moved out here.
This is Heidi saying, your house is a mess, God damn it.
Not right now.
No. I think
People can probably hear Frank snoring.
I think as well, just taking on too much is a ADHD, a weakness, like biting off too many things.
I think that goes with, and Heather and I had this conversation because I'm a people pleaser. And there are certain things, attributes I feel like ADHD globs onto when you're a people pleaser versus someone like, because Heather was the opposite. And we didn't really understand each other when we were teenagers because she would go off because she just didn't want to deal with the situation. And me, I tried to fix it or alleviate whatever I could. And so, but Heather's thinking during that time was that she felt rejected by them when she was the one that was always just leaving.
Right.
So it just is interesting to see like the ADHD and how it plays out and where you end up personality wise or vice versa. Who knows
Right.
which was first?
Yeah. And I think about that a lot with the addiction and ADHD. Was it there earlier? And I think back to like school. Like I really struggled in school.
Thing.
Like really struggled. But then in my 30s, I went back and took a few college classes and absolutely loved it and excelled at it and was like, why was I not capable of this when I was younger? And I think there must have been something going on at that point.
Yeah. Well, Heather and I thought it was because our childhood was so much a disaster that we couldn't concentrate on school. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, as you were on your journey of discovering your different ADHD menu items, what was something that really surprised you ended up being ADHD? Well, let me preface it because I remember talking to you a while back and you said to me, I always thought I was a weirdo about X, Y, and Z. And you said, sometimes I feel like my tongue is too
Big for my mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, what the hell?
I don't know, but it only happens to me when I am laying down to go to sleep.
It's so weird that these are things that they're so like obtuse. Is that the right word?
Yes.
That you don't even think to Google them. You're like, this is just me and I'm a big weirdo.
Yes.
And this is part of being in my body as a human. So I never thought to look that up. And I remember saying something to you, or maybe you mentioned that this was a symptom. And I was like, what? I don't know how it came up, but
either. Oh, I think we were talking about the moving the legs and stuff.
I'm like, how is that a symptom of ADHD?
Well, even things like not liking the taste of water. There's a woman that I love on HGTV who has ADHD.
That's a lot of letters.
Yes, it is. But her show is called No Demo Renum.
Okay.
Her name is Jen. I can't remember her last name. But she was with her contractor in one episode of her show. And the contractor knows that she hates the taste of water. Like it makes her gag if she drinks too much or too fast.
So crazy.
And so he bet her $20. He would give her $20 if she could drink the whole bottle of water in under 2 minutes or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But she got halfway through and just was like gagging. How is this? It's like such a vital necessity for the body. And we're getting, it's like, no. And it's the taste thing. It has to do with, what do you call that? Not tactile, but sensory. Which just is another, like, it ties into all these. Oh, I got rid of my list. Wait, let me go back. The items that are.
What are the sensory related ones?
Okay, so there's just the top 8, but then the comorbidities, and they break down, and some of them are overlap, some of them aren't. But I've only gone into a few of them to find the overlap.
Okay.
Which I showed you. But well, did you ask me?
What are the kind of top shelf ones, like the common ones? Just ADHD in general, symptoms.
Oh, so the top shelf. Did you say top shelf? Okay, so lack of focus.
Yeah.
Inattention.
Got it.
Poor time management.
Absolutely.
Weak impulse control.
Oh, God,
and that can be verbal, cognitive, motivational, and emotional.
Yes. Sometimes, yes.
Hyperfocus.
Yep.
Hyperactivity.
Yes.
Fidgeting is part of hyperactivity. And executive dysfunction, although that's not considered technically one of the, but it's so intertwined that how could you not? There's only that one symptom of an executive function that is not ADHD, and has problems remembering assigned tasks, which Grace is, that is definitely one of her top things. So it's her executive function for sure, or dysfunction, I should say. But when I was going through, you were wanting to know.
Oh, about the sensory ones.
Yeah. So I guess is that considered? So ASD, this is considered neurological. So ASD is, this is something that I have. Oh no, rejection sensitivity. You don't have that.
What is it?
You wouldn't be the send in the blonde if you had that. It's rejection sensitivity. Like you are so,
Oh, no.
yeah, no. Heather and I have it big time. But so now did you look up ASD?
ASD says autistic spectrum disorder.
Oh yeah, duh. Yes, that's neurological. Okay, so developmental coordination disorder. Oh no, that's not sensitivity.
I did not know OCD was on the autistic spectrum disorder.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before, I think like 3 years ago, doctors were not allowed to diagnose both autism and ADHD. It had to be one or the other. Now they're allowed to diagnose both.
But ADHD is on the autism spectrum disorder.
Right. But
Autism is separate.
yes,
Got it.
we shouldn't say autistic spectrum. It should just be spectrum, but
Got it.
whatever. All of this is very confusing, I think, because all of it has surfaced in so many ways over the past, decade that people are like, oh, well, now we can't call it that because, anyway.
Our reason for this podcast is to support and uplift women in recognizing the impact undiagnosed ADHD has on their lives and to know that they're not alone. Discovery and grieving for what life could have been if we had only known and had help can be hard sometimes. If you have any thoughts you would like to share, you can email us at genx.adhd.sisters@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. #GenX ADHD Sisters.